That is agenda item 17, to discuss and act on a flag policy. Councilor Breyer has proposed a flag policy. Did you want to address that?
Yes, so this would be along the lines of basically what we've discussed about not having a policy, not allowing council time to be taken up with whatever flag requests people want to put in whenever they want to put them in. This would establish that the only way a flag can be flown would be by a vote of the council. And the only way for the council to discuss it would be if it's brought to the council by a member of the council or the town manager. And so if there's a group from the public that has an event or a group or some other purpose to fly a flag, they would reach out to one or multiple members of the council or the town manager, discuss it with them. So at least it comes on the agenda with some support from the council, with a sponsor from the council, so that we don't get into a situation of long debate about a one flag request after another.
Okay. I should point out for folks who can't see that there is our solicitor has done some good research, and it's very clear that there is not some right of any group to have their flag flown. By us flying a particular flag, that does not create the right of someone else to fly their flag. So, if that were the case, we would not have put the BLM or any of the other flags up, because that would mean that someone who has kind of any abhorrent views could put their flag up. It's entirely up to the town to decide. We have the sole and absolute discretion to decide the content of any flag that's raised. So Councilor Breyer has suggested a policy. Does anyone want to be heard on that? Vice President Weymouth. Councilor Boyajian.
What my colleague neglected to add is that he did, in his flag policy, he has suggested, I would remind people that during the month of February to raise the Pan-African flag. And I'm getting brain dead for one thing, but I would not agree to this voting in favor of this policy if that were included, because.
Okay. Councilor Boyajian.
I think there's a lot to be said about this policy. I don't know if anyone saw it. Online today, there was a letter to the editor posted by the Barrington Times. It's from a resident who's a very good lawyer, but he was wrong on a lot of facts, which makes your conclusions wrong usually. But the takeaway is that if we turn the flagpole into a public forum, we end up exactly where you were talking about, Mike, which is that anyone can come along and say, I demand XYZ flag be flown. The way to solve that problem is to make clear that it is not a public forum. And I think this policy goes a long way to doing that. What I would suggest, instead of specifying any flags that we're going to fly, again, I'm particularly sensitive to this because I know I'm not going to be here in a couple of months, is that I wouldn't want to adopt a policy that says next June XYZ gets done. I think we should fly the pride flag. I think we should do it every year, but that's not going to be my call. So rather than specifying what flags fly, is adopt an ordinance that we can introduce next month that makes clear no resident has the right to fly a flag on the flagpole. And that by itself, I think, accomplishes what this policy is driving at, which is it's a decision for the council or the manager to make, however we divvy up that authority. I happen to think the manager can do it. Our charter says he's the CEO of the town. But regardless of the mechanics, what we're trying to do is make clear that this is government speech that we're engaging in. This is not a bulletin board where everyone can come and say, I want to hang X, Y, Z up. And so I just suggest we do it by ordinance, and rather than specify any flags that we might put up, just leave that to the judgment of the people who make the decisions.
Okay. Councilor Hearn, did you want to be heard?
I was looking at the ordinance for Bristol and Warren, and I do like, they have a piece in their ordinances that require signatures of like 250 people. So then you also then avoid the whole big confrontation in a meeting. You've got the signatures to go ahead with a particular flag. So it's sponsored by a council member with 200 signatures.
Okay. Councilor Breyer, you wanted to be heard as well.
To Vice President Weymouth's comment, I would be okay with removing the Pan-African flag in February, and to another point we've discussed, that can be left to a future council to decide whether and how to recognize Black History Month. But to Councilor Boyajian's point, when we passed our resolution celebrating and recognizing Pride Month, part of that resolution is to fly the Pride flag for the month of June annually. And it was specifically intended to be that way annually, so that it is not something that a group that has been historically marginalized and victimized having to organize and come back and request it year after year, that this is just something Barrington does. And so any policy we have, I think, needs to reflect that that flag will fly in the month of June, unless a specific decision is made to change it, and that community is given ample opportunity to discuss it.
No, and I'm not suggesting we're undoing anything we've already done, right? What I'm saying is that rather than adopt a policy that lays out what flags we're going to fly, why don't we pass an ordinance that says the flagpole is government speech, really, is what it amounts to, right? The flagpole is not a public forum. A person can't come. And the real, let me give you the analogy. It came from a case where there was a town that had flagpoles in a park that were open to any member of the public to fly the flag of a foreign country. And I think they put up it was essentially the Viet Cong flag, which of course, sent people up the wall. Now, it happened to be a community of Vietnamese people that had come from, communist Vietnam. And so to them, they're saying that's our home flag. They didn't view it as anything offensive. Essentially, the town got stuck with a flag they didn't like because they said people can come and raise their own flags here, right? So all I'm saying is that rather than adopt a policy that says here are flags that we will fly, all we really need to prevent the quagmire is an ordinance that says the flagpole is not the public forum, right? The flagpole is the town's flagpole, and when a flag is flown there, that's the government speaking. And I think that avoids, looking back at the policy, that's effectively what we're shooting at with the case law you've cited there, which is that this is government speech, we're free to do it, and it doesn't compel us to give equal time to any crackpot view that someone might bring to us.
Right. Paul, I will get to you. I just wanted to let the council talk on this. Anything else from the council for now? Obviously not cutting off discussion. Paul do Chino wanted to be heard on this. We can unmute Paul. Okay, there you go.
John, I actually have a little presentation, if I can share my screen.
I don't know that we can do that. Do you want to just take us through it?
Well, if the host wants to let me do it, it's only 6 slides, so. Okay, oh, well, it was, okay, I got you. All right, yeah, it does sound like, earlier I was able to do it in practice. All right. Basically, my first slide has a picture of the town hall, probably was taken in the 70s or so. But what it shows is the flagpole in its original position. Around 2005, the flagpole was moved to its current location to be co-located with the Veterans Memorial. So that's just to give you a little history on that. One of the things that I want to state right up front with Barrington, our official position of the United Veterans Council is that we believe all Black lives matter. And this includes and is not limited to victims of police brutality, victims of gang violence and crime, the lives of law enforcement and first responders, and also the lives of members of the military. And some would even go so far as to say the born and unborn. But that is not our official position. But those are the, that we respect the lives and think all Black lives matter. What we do not support are organizations that support lawlessness and rioting. Those that excuse looting and others looting and also committing crimes against other people's personal or property. We don't support organizations that engage in violence to intimidate and silence dissenting opinions. We don't support organizations that advocate for revolution based on extreme left-wing or right-wing ideologies. Overall, the UVC's sole purpose is what we want to do is protect the dignity of our Veterans Memorial by ensuring that no private or political banners are flown under the American flag at that location. The next slide that I have that you're not going to get to watch is that many Barrington veterans served to defend this nation against the global spread of communism, and some of them even made the supreme sacrifice. Let's just say their names. In the Korean War, John K. Burroughs, William E. Carpenter III, Gerald L. McMahon. The Vietnam War, Victor P. Andriozzi, Robert M. Donovan, Arthur F. McQuaid Jr., Gary L. Stevenson, and even Grenada, Jeffrey R. Sharver. And when their bodies, some of them didn't come back, in the case of John Burroughs, a World War II veteran and a Korean War veteran, was captured and ended up dying of malnutrition in a North Korean POW camp. But when the others' bodies came back, an American flag was draped over their coffin, and it was an American flag that was presented to their next of kin. It wasn't a Pan-American. It wasn't a Black Lives Matter. It wasn't any rainbow flag. It wasn't whatever it is, a Tea Party flag. It wasn't a United Nations flag. So that, I think for us, this is important. We look at ourselves as veterans as the guardian of the flag. It is the flag we wear on our shoulders when we go to combat. It's the flag that we know will be draped over us when we return. And we don't think it's appropriate. And I think we've just witnessed this and experienced this over the last couple hours. We've just discussed about what flags should or shouldn't be flown and why they should be flown and what configuration, whether they're a semblance of an American flag modified or any of those matters. I think we want to keep it clean. We want to keep it simple. And I think the easiest and the best solution is the proposed language I gave. The next slide I had, which you won't get to see, I have a whole bunch of different flags. And then the question is, how do we, or who should decide which banners are symbols of liberty, civil rights, pride, heritage, or hate? I mean, I think that's a fundamental thing, because for one person, we've seen some very emotional feelings about what a particular flag represents and doesn't represent. You even expressed it, Mike, about the American flag at one time, that somehow that people looked at it because it was carried by torch-wielding, Nazis, that somehow that disparaged the flag. But I think that's the one flag, that's the one banner that represents all of us, all of these groups, and is inclusive to everyone, and that we don't need to add secondary banners to illuminate that fact. There's one flag, and that's That's the one flag that we pledge our allegiance to, the one flag for the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, for liberty and for justice for all. And that's the American flag. And the language I chose is the identical language that was adopted by the Warren Town Council. And that's the one that we propose. Most of the stuff is boilerplate right out of the Title IV U.S. Code for flag etiquette, with the addition of the last paragraph being the flagpoles located in front of the town hall and those located on any municipality-owned building or property shall only fly the United States flag, the flag of the state of Rhode Island, the POW flag, which is specified under law, federal law, and the flag of the town of Barrington. And I think that keeps it clean. That keeps politics out of it. We've had enough divisiveness. We've seen it in this meeting. People are trying to pull us in all directions, divide us as a nation. Why can't we rally around the one symbol that represents all of us? That's the American flag, and let's not sully it or water it down or split it by trying to, placate the masses. And I think we do have a diversity problem in our town. We really do have a diversity town. And it's not the diversity that you think about. The diversity problem that we have in our town is a diversity of thought. If you just even look at the membership of your board, are there any representatives from the opposing party? What we've done is, I feel in some degree, we've descended down into some sort of mob rule. I don't even recognize this town that I moved into 16 years ago and put my kids through the school system. And during those 16 years, I've never witnessed any systemic racism. And I don't think that label is befitting. Yeah, sure, Barrington gets a bad rep. Yeah, okay, people are snobby or elitist or whatever it is that people want to say, but we all came to this town for the same reasons. And we all raised our kids in this town, and we're all proud of this town. And we don't need outside groups coming in and dividing us against each other. A nation divided will fall. So that's pretty much, I'm glad I waited to get my 2 cents in, but I hope that the town, we're giving you an out. This is an appropriate thing, and I think it answers and ends a lot of other debates in the future. If the town wants to erect another pole or another location for which they can have ceremonial banners placed for certain holidays, that's fine. We just think it has no place in sharing the pole where the United States flag is over the Veterans Memorial at our town hall. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Silverbuck. We unmute her, please.
Just have a quick question for Paul. Well, I appreciate his remarks, but please bear with me. It's late. We are all brain dead at this point, and I'm just trying to understand how would you experience systemic racism when you are a white male in Barrington? And 2, could you be more specific about the others coming into town trying to separate us? I just want to make sure that I'm clearly understanding your statements and making sense of what you're saying so we can all come to an agreement.
Paul, you don't have to answer that. It is getting really late. I think one of the things that we should recognize is that the discussions we've had tonight are not about a flag. It's not really about a flag. And so I don't think every time we talk about a flag, if somebody comes up and says, I'd like you to fly the nurse's flag, it's not going to be about this. This is a discussion about race. And this is what we mean when we say it's uncomfortable. This is the discomfort that you're supposed to feel when you're addressing these issues. Councilor Breyer.
I appreciate, first and foremost, Mr. Delquinos, your service to country. And I too feel, as you do, that the United States flag represents me. It speaks to me. I'm passionate about the Stars and Stripes. it doesn't speak to everybody that same way. And that's what we're discussing now, is that while you want it to represent everybody, and that's what it should aspire to, it is not yet representing everybody. And sometimes to send that message of unity, we need to speak a little bit louder to certain groups. And that's the reason why we've done it in the past. That's the reason why I expect we would do it in the future. And that's also the reason why the US flag code permits it to be done.
Thank you, Councilor Breyer. So are we've talked about the flag policy. Do we want to vote on the flag policy? Or I got the sense that Councilor Breyer was in favor of Councilor Boyajian's suggestion of putting in an ordinance. Is that, or would you like us to vote on this?
I don't think we need one, a policy between now and next week. I'm curious to see what the ordinance will look like. If we can have that for introduction in October, I'm fine not making a motion to move on this.
Okay. All right, so it doesn't look like we're going to have a motion on this. Paul, would you like to be heard? You can unmute, Paul. Can we unmute Paul, please?
Go, thank you.
There you go.
Yeah, I think that I've had the honor and the privilege to serve in the most diverse organization in the free world, and that's the United States military. And we stand shoulder to shoulder with people and men, women of all races, creeds, and ethnic groups, and we all bleed red. And all of us would give our lives for each other in combat. So I am a little taken affront that my background or my skin color or that of my family's, I'm still entitled to an opinion, and it doesn't minimize my opinion at all because of my gender or the color of my skin. That would be racist on face value. I think that it is for us, for veterans, and I can speak for all the men in this room, and many of them had to leave because this thing dragged on a lot longer. I have one that's waiting here because he's got the keys to the Legion Hall. That the flag, it is the flag. It is to us. It's not about race in this particular case. And if you're so concerned about not offending others, then at least give some deference to your veteran community who stood by this town and have gone to war and fought and died for this town. And for you to have the freedoms to fly whatever flag you'd like. And to see political statements made above a veterans memorial to somehow detract away from the one flag that unifies all is sort of like a stab in the back. It really is. And a lot of our veterans feel very strongly about this and are very emotional over this subject. And I would just think that we're offering you an alternative. I think there are other ways that people can express their First Amendments. We encourage everybody to express their First Amendment. We don't think it's fitting as a public statement endorsed by the government that's supposed to represent all of the people of this community. I think we should keep politics out of this if this is one thing we can do, and that we should adopt a flag neutral policy that we recommend and only fly the official flags. This is the same policy that Secretary of Defense Esper just recently passed in order to make sure that hate flags are not flown on DoD installations across the globe. And I think this is in keeping, would be a smart decision as well. Like I said, if you want to put up another flagpole in another location to use for other causes or commemorate, or maybe even add another flagpole to fly that, but it should not be flown on the same flagpole as the United flag, and that's our position. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mike, can I jump in here for a second?
Sure.
And this is Jim Cunha, citizen. I am also a veteran. And after the conversation tonight, I am more and more convinced that flying the Black Matters flag, Black Lives Matter flag, is the right thing to do. We don't fly it above our American flag. The stars and stripes are always going to be number one. but we as veterans, me as a veteran, and everyone that wears a uniform defends the principles of our country. And the principles of our country are that all men and women are created equal. And that flag that we're flying below the American flag is saying exactly that. So it isn't in opposition, it's in support of. And I think it's the right way to go.
Thank you, Jim. Catherine would like to be heard. I don't know if that's Catherine Quinn or...
Hi. Yeah, it's Catherine Quinn. I tried to change my name on the thing, but I couldn't figure out how to do it. I'm going to take up much time. And actually, Jim, you just said I didn't want to speak for you, but I thought maybe you weren't allowed to speak as a citizen because you're like an official. And I just was going to say that as a member of our community who has dealt with you on many occasions and is very committed to this this subject, this cause, and very active and outspoken and probably quite offensive to many. I have just really enjoyed watching your response to what's going on in our town and in our country. And I had so much respect for your decision to fly that flag, whether or not I agreed with it or whether or not the protocol you took was, you know, what everybody wanted. And I was just going to say that I'm pretty sure you're a veteran, right? I think you're a veteran, and I appreciate the service that you gave our country. And I also appreciate your service as an official of our town, somebody who is hearing what people are saying, and it's obviously very emotional for everybody, for all sides. And one of the things that I've heard tonight, and that has been like not the highest level in my opinion, of our town is that people are taking personality and emotion and it's all elevated. And I think Amy said it in the beginning, principles over personality. And I feel that this conversation has been very, very personally like barbed. And that in reality, we are mostly seeking the same thing in our town. And I think that one of the things that I've enjoyed watching you, Jim, is that you've taken a lot of crap from me even, and you just evaluate the situation and learn and grow and come from your heart. And so I just wanted to say that I really appreciate that. I respect that a lot, and I hope that our town can stop feeling that when someone offers a different suggestion or suggests that they don't approve of something entirely, that they're saying that they're attacking people. That's not what's happening here. What we're trying to do is grow as a community, and you know, I feel like I just wanted to give you a lot of credit and a lot of thanks for being a power of example, really. So that's it.
Thank you. So we have other folks who've got their hands raised, but folks, it's really late. I think I have to ask you to maybe send thank you. I'm trying to get through the rest of this agenda. So we will not have a motion on the flag policy. We're going to talk about that at our next meeting through the introduction of an ordinance. We can move on to the next item.